Hey everyone, this is day 5 of my week of daily videos recounting incredible stories involving animals. Today we're looking at the story of Cecil the Lion, a popular feature of safaris in Hwange National Park, whose sad story of being killed by an American trophy hunter led to a global awakening to the realities of trophy hunting in Africa. Welcome back to All About Nature. On my channel, I try to bring nature-related content that's both educational and entertaining. If you want to hear all of the stories from my videos this week, check out the playlist. And tomorrow, I'll also be uploading a compilation of all 5 of the stories from this week. Now, let's take a look at the story of Cecil the Lion. In the heart of Zimbabwe's Hwange National Park, Cecil, a majestic African lion with a striking black-fringed mane, roamed as the undisputed king of his domain. Born in 2002, Cecil was tagged and tracked by the Wildlife Conservation Research Unit at the University of Oxford. From the time he was born until the time of his death, his movements and pride associations were well documented. He had been part of 3 different prides, and in 2015, he had established a coalition with another male named Jericho, with the pair running 2 prides at once. At the time, there were about half a dozen cubs that he had sired, and life seemed to be going well for him. However, Cecil's reign was about to come to a tragic end. The events leading up to Cecil's death unfolded in secrecy under the cover of darkness. Walter Palmer, a dentist from Minnesota with a love for big game hunting, had recently paid a hefty sum of $50,000 to embark on a trophy hunting expedition in Zimbabwe. Guided by a local professional hunter, Theo Bronkhorst, and accompanied by a wildlife tracker, Cornelius Nkube, Palmer set out on the night of July 1st, 2015, armed with a compound bow. Under the cloak of night, Palmer and his companions erected a hunting blind on Nkumbe's private property adjacent to Hwange National Park, strategically positioning themselves to ambush unsuspecting wildlife. Before this, they had entered the park and dragged an elephant carcass from within the park's boundaries out to Nkumbe's property, in hopes that this bait would draw a lion out of the protected zone. Within the park, Cecil caught wind of the elephant. As he followed the scent, he left the confines of the protected area, unknowingly walking towards his own demise. As he approached the bait, Palmer, hiding behind the blind that they had erected, shot an arrow from his bow, seriously wounding Cecil. But Cecil didn't die. He took off, and the chase was on. The reason we know what went down is because Cecil was wearing a satellite collar, and every 2 hours it recorded his location. For the rest of the night, the 3 men tracked Cecil. They followed the path of blood until they finally came upon the lion suffering in the grass in the early morning, having ended up only about 300 meters from where he was first shot. Palmer approached, pointed his compound bow again, and delivered a fatal shot. This is likely when they realized that Cecil was wearing a satellite collar. So, they removed it, eventually dumping it a few kilometers away to hide the evidence. While trophy hunting isn't an uncommon practice in the region, the news of this particular killing spread like wildfire, capturing the attention of media outlets around the world. It was riddled with problems. For one, the hunt was illegal. Nkumbe, who owned the private land where Cecil was shot, didn't have a license to shoot a lion. Second, Cecil was a subject of research. He had been tagged and studied for nearly 10 years of his life. And this wasn't uncommon. In fact, 24 out of 62 tagged lions were killed by hunters during the study period. And finally, the method of hunting was extremely controversial. He was lured out of the park with bait. His hunters were hiding behind a blind, and a compound bow, which caused a long, slow death, was used. This triggered an outpouring of condemnation from conservationists and public figures. Celebrities took to social media to express their outrage, while petitions demanding justice for Cecil garnered millions of signatures. In Zimbabwe, where Cecil was a beloved symbol of the country's natural heritage, the reaction was mixed. While some mourned the loss of a national treasure, others were indifferent, unaware of Cecil's existence until his tragic demise made headlines around the world. The Zimbabwean government faced pressure to take action against Palmer and his accomplices, but legal loopholes made it difficult. Both of the guides had criminal cases brought against them, both of which were later dismissed. As for Palmer, everything he had done was technically legal, and he was never charged with any offense in Zimbabwe or in the United States. But this didn't stop the general public from condemning him. He received hate messages and death threats, and his home and dental practice were vandalized. He also had his membership to Safari Club International suspended. Safari Club International defends the right to hunt, but in a statement they said, "Those who intentionally take wildlife illegally should be prosecuted and punished to the maximum extent allowed by law." Amidst the international outcry, Cecil's death sparked a broader conversation about the impact of trophy hunting on wildlife conservation. Advocates both for and against trophy hunting came forward to present what they believed to be right. Those who were for trophy hunting had several main arguments. First, they argued that trophy hunting provided significant revenue for conservation efforts and local communities, incentivizing local people to protect wild spaces for the sake of tourism and the trophy hunting business. Next, they claimed that species confined to small parks needed to have their populations controlled through selective culling, and that trophy hunting helps keep ecosystems healthy and removes potentially harmful individuals from the population. And finally, they said that trophy hunting provides a financial incentive for landowners and governments to conserve wildlife and their habitats. As they see the financial value of trophy species, large, healthy populations are preserved because their presence is essential for attracting trophy hunters. But those who are against trophy hunting weren't buying these arguments. They argued that revenue generated from trophy hunting rarely benefited anyone other than a select few. The majority of the money from trophy hunting fees was not going towards any conservation or to helping local communities, but rather lining the pockets of guides and government officials who issued licenses. They also argued that the practice didn't help ecosystems either, as it can disrupt natural balances by targeting large, mature individuals that play important roles in maintaining population dynamics and genetic diversity. In the case of lions, for instance, when a male dies, a new male moves in and often kills all of the cubs from the last male that was in charge, putting already endangered species at further risk. And finally, they argued that it was simply unethical. Not only did it cause the unnecessary suffering of wild animals, but they felt that the pursuit of trophies and bragging rights perpetuates a culture of exploitation and disrespect for wildlife. The trophy hunting debate continues. Despite the sadness of the loss of Cecil, his death also sparked serious positive change for conservation. In the United States, where Palmer is from, lawmakers introduced legislation to restrict the import of lion trophies and tighten regulations on trophy hunting activities. Airlines, including American, Delta, and United, responded to public pressure by banning the transport of hunting trophies on their flights. Asian and African lions were listed as an endangered species by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, giving them even further restrictions for import. Conservation organizations used Cecil's tragic fate to raise awareness about the plight of lions and other endangered species. The Humane Society of the United States and other advocacy groups launched campaigns to end trophy hunting and promote wildlife conservation efforts in Africa and beyond, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars in the ensuing weeks. The legacy of Cecil's death also extended to the scientific community, where researchers at the University of Oxford's Wildlife Conservation Research Unit, who had been studying Cecil and his pride for years, vowed to continue their work in his memory. Their research shed light on the complex social dynamics of lion prides and the ecological impact of trophy hunting on lion populations. For Cecil's surviving pride, the aftermath of his death brought uncertainty and upheaval. With Cecil gone, a power vacuum emerged within the pride, leaving his cubs vulnerable to infanticide by rival males seeking to assert dominance. Conservationists and park rangers worked tirelessly to protect Cecil's offspring and ensure their survival in the unforgiving wilderness of Hwange National Park. They have since reported that the new male lion of the pride, thankfully, did not end up killing Cecil's 6 cubs. In the years following Cecil's death, his legacy endured as a rallying cry for wildlife conservationists and activists worldwide. His tragic fate served as a stark reminder of the fragile balance between humans and wildlife, and the urgent need to protect endangered species from exploitation and habitat destruction. As the world reflected on Cecil's life and untimely death, his memory has been cemented in modern culture. From children's books to documentaries, Cecil's legacy continues to inspire efforts to preserve Africa's iconic lions and safeguard their future for generations to come. And that's it for today's video. Tomorrow I'll upload all 5 stories from this week in a single video for those of you who maybe prefer the longer form content. This concludes my week of daily uploads. I want to say a special thanks to my patrons, whose support makes this channel possible. If you want to join us on Patreon, check out the link in the video description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.